All right, I'm gonna ask you this. Was the downtown project out for a vote or just?
Downtown partnership. Now we're going to go through and we're going to get into it with the downtown partnership. The downtown partnership is supposed to be a nonprofit.
Or nonprofit?
So through and you'll see actually how it's a one-stop shop. You can go there, you can get your drugs, you can get your prostitutes, you name it, you can do it right there all in one place if it's illegal. You'll see all the carts and stuff out there outside of that. The mayor will go through and put it on city council that they don't have enough funding. The reality is they have went through and flip-flopped so much. On the corner of New and Lockerman, this was Family Dollar. A lot of people was really, really grateful that the Family Dollar was actually the money that you're spending, and you're getting a salary. The police chief got $20,000 for overtime.
Hey, welcome back. Another day, another video, man. If you saw my last video that I just uploaded a couple days ago, this video is like a contract to that last video. The last video I uploaded was showing you the development and the upgrade of the city of Dover, Delaware, all right? Now, the people at the event, the Fire and Ice event, were pretty excited for the new development. So now this video gonna be a contract to that, and we're gonna get a different side of the story, what's going on in Dover, Delaware. So stay tuned, keep watching, it's gonna be fun. Hey guys, I'm here with Michelle Paul, Miss Paul, how you doing?
Yes, how are you?
What's going on?
Well, you know what, we are downtown Dover, and I think it's time for us to go through and shed some light on what's really going on here within the city and with regards to this revitalization project. Because people in the city are actually saying that they don't want the project, but you have the people that are actually leading local government that are trying to force this revitalization down the throat of the citizens. And everyone that lives in this city wants to see the city flourish. Everyone wants the city rebuilt. We want it to look better. We want it to feel safe in our community. But before we start spending taxpayers' dollars and taking the revenue to revitalize a city, what kind of sense does it make for us to rebuild a city in its present condition? People don't want their money basically gone through and thrown out the window. So it's time for us to go through and be really realistic as to why this project is actually being pushed down the throats of the city residents that want to clean up their neighborhood and their city first before they spend their dollars to where it actually goes through and is thrown away, and these people continue on running the city amok. Essentially, this is Friendly's. Of course, everyone that is from Dover knows that this restaurant was here since the late 1970s, and they closed down.
Hold on a second. Before we get into this, right? Because a lot of people already don't know you right now.
Okay.
Can you tell them who you are? Then what?
Okay, so I'm Shell Paul, and I'm actually a local activist, and I founded an organization called Divided We Fall. Basically, it's community action where, people within the city, a lot of times they feel like they don't have a voice or they feel intimidated with regards to speaking about the things that they need to speak up about, but their fear of retaliation stops them from actually having a voice or inputting on how they really feel. So how I got into this, I have no clue. I guess because my mouth is just, I'm very direct and to the point on what it is that, fighting for just rights of human beings, period. People started coming to me with a lot of the city issues. With that being said, the city of Dover has a lot of issues that we have been combating for quite some time. And the problem is right now that the local officials, they all have their hands in the cookie jar. From the city solicitor, from the councilman, someone has something to gain from this downtown partnership and this new revitalization project. And You know, the only people that are pushing it are the people that are actually getting something out of it, whether it be financially or whether it be political power, political gain. They're riding this on the backs of citizens that want the rebuild, but they don't need it right now. This local business right here, this was Friendly's, and it was opened up back in the late 1970s. So the business in itself was about 50 years old. Nothing was really wrong with the business. They had business, breakfast, you know, families actually came here to you know, take their kids, grandchildren, things like that to eat. And it was a thriving business. It got bought out, if I'm not mistaken, by a company called Devco, which is actually a company that's doing in charge of a lot of the revitalization in the actual city. Now, if you notice, this building was actually for sale or lease by a company called R&R Realty. R&R Realty, and they just literally took the sign down. You'll see that sign throughout the city. R&R Realty is owned by one of the city solicitor's children, Nicholas Rodriguez. And if I'm not mistaken, I think his name is Charlie Rodriguez. But at the end of the day, Nicholas Rodriguez is the city solicitor, which means he's the attorney for the city of Dover. He recently just announced him not wanting to have that position anymore, but I think that had to do with the fact that you know, it's a conflict of interest, or it's an appearance of a conflict of interest. So when you have an appearance of a conflict of interest within the city, you know, what is the legal definition of a conflict of interest? If you go to the Black Laws Dictionary, you look at the legal definition of a conflict of interest, it says, according to the Black Laws Dictionary, conflict of interest is a situation where a person's private interest may conflict with their public or fiduciary interest. This can undermine a person's ability to act impartially or appropriately. Now, with this conflict of interest, we're going to just go on and name this source where it is the appearance of a conflict of interest with Attorney Rodriguez.
Yeah.
It can be occurred as a person's actions, inactions, or decisions could materially affect their financial interests or those of their family or associates. Nicholas Rodriguez is the city solicitor. What is the city solicitor's job within the city? He determines if a property is abandoned. He determines if a property is condemnable. He leads and directs city council to what it is that they need to do legally with regards to making decisions of these properties. Now, citizens have already stated that they felt this was a conflict of interest, or at least showed the improprieties. You know, it was the appearance of a conflict. With that being said, Attorney Rodriguez is in the very least showing, it's giving the impression. So when you go through and you give the impression thereof, so even if you're not even supposed to give the impression of an impropriety, it's a conflict of interest because he is the one who determines what properties are abandoned, what properties are condemnable, and he gives this information to council and directs them based on whatever it is. Their direction is from his point of view, his legal standpoint. Now, if his son is working with the developers and he's contracted to work with the developers, then guess what? His son is making money off of constituents, their properties, anything that's condemned and given to someone else to sell, and he's making money off of it in a redevelopment project. You know, so how can that be how can that, you know, work? How do we do these things? You know, anything can be done, and we're not saying that it is happening, but what we're saying is the appearance does not look good. You know, so this was brought up, and I sent an email to Solicitor Rodriguez probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than that, that stated, you know, you are it's a conflict of interest. It's the appearance of a conflict of interest. And he knew this. So explain to me why his conflict of interest only became a thing when someone that was higher up in power, or a higher, a political figure, or someone that had a big name in the community, Mashu, when their properties were involved. Now people are looking at that conflict of interest, but you have people that's within the city where the city has went through taking their property, because of code enforcement violations and fines. Now, the city hasn't even went through, and they even found that their billing system was not on the same page, and people were being double billed. People were losing their properties because of fines that they couldn't afford to pay, or payment arrangements that they couldn't afford to keep up. So what ended up happening, they saw that there was a discrepancy. Do you think that they reached out to constituents and let them know that? No, you haven't done that. The city has double billed you because the systems weren't leaked. So if code enforcement has it in their system that you owed money and they didn't clear it properly, and then where you actually pay it is listed different, and those systems are in joint, then every time that you get a bill, it's being double billed. You had a gentleman that...
Can I ask you this? Is the city doing anything to address that kind of issue?
The city is doing exactly what they want to do right now. They are violating their own muni codes, and the muni codes are what are used to actually govern the city. They're violating their own muni codes, but most of all, they're violating their oath of office. They took an oath of office to actually go through and actually service the constituents, the people that live in the city. Now, how are they violating it? Because the city, these residents are telling them. When they had those, if you notice, Downtown Partnership has their meetings now at 7:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Well, they weren't having it in the evening time where people could actually attend. They're having these meetings because they have adversity. People in the community don't want this. They're telling them that. So when you go through and you see the Diane Laird and all the people that are working a part of this Downtown Partnership, they have a vested interest. Diane Laird is getting paid over $100,000 a year to work 3 days a week for this development project. Keep in mind, the citizens and the taxpayers are footing these bills. Even with the money that they're going through, the way that they're listing it in the financial report is saying that they gave, I believe it was $150,000 to the Downtown Partnership, where in past years, they've actually paid their salaries. Now this year, I think they listed it as $150,000, but if you go in the finance report under others, there was $734,000 in the Economic Development Fund. Now, how did that come into play? They just started talking about that, but that was only because I brought it up, and started making a big deal about that money that was sitting aside. Now, the reason why I asked it on the floor, was this money going to go to Downtown Partnership? The city is already in shambles. They're in disarray. We're a financial rut. Mm-hmm. You are assessing fees to constituents that never were assessed to them before because you put the cart before the horse. This city cannot afford a redevelopment project right now. You have so many things. If you look, you'll see it was home. When we came up here, you seen that it was homeless people that had just been in the corner of this area right here. Yeah. And they were trying to shelter themselves from the cold. If you come down to this area, which is, this is turning into Sunset City. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you have all and it's cold, but you have all the homeless people. You got the super large down here on the corner, and when you ride past it, you'll go through and you'll see actually how it's a one-stop shop. You can go there, you can get your drugs, you can get your prostitutes, you name it, you can do it right there all in one place if it's illegal. You'll see all the carts and stuff out there outside of that actual establishment, and they are literally going through and they are prostituting in the middle of the street. Now, they'll tell you, oh, well, the AG's office said we're not going to go through and we're not going to prosecute those offenses. Let's think about it. You have a city that they're breaking the law. It's a law that's on the book. So regardless as to whether the AG's office says she's going to prosecute it or not, City of Dover has an obligation to go through and make the arrest. Why? Because they're breaking the law. With that being said, how does that affect the city? So, oh, it's a you know, they'll make the excuse and say, oh, it's a mental health issue.
Oh, wow.
No, it's not. Prostitution is illegal. And how do you go through the, and because they're saying it's mental health because it's a drug-related issue.
Yeah.
They're prostituting so they can get drugs. That very well may be the case, but how do you force them to get the help that they need? If you can't penalize the crime and you don't make an arrest, you can't force them to get the help. Now, of course, you do have to go through, and it is one of those things, but how do you combat it? Number one, it's a health issue, it's a safety issue. If you're going out spreading community diseases and you're going through and you got a prostitute that gets a John and he goes home to his wife that doesn't know that he's prostituting, and that prostitute has HIV, hepatitis, or whatever they have, guess what? They're going now home to go give it back to their wife. And then, you know, it goes on and on and on, and then it becomes a community issue. So, with that being said, how do you go through and combat it? You make the arrest because it's an arrestable offense.
Yeah.
Whether they prosecute it or not, that's on them. But you are doing what your constituents want done. Once they go through and make so many arrests, then you have the leverage for the AG's office to say, this is what's going on. This is a problem here. But if you don't make the arrest to show that there's a problem, to show that there's a link at what's going on, then guess what? You end up with the same issue. What are they doing with this? They're using it to gentrify the area. And all that's fine, well and good. We're all about rebuilding. We do want everything to be nice. If you can't afford to keep your property up, then maybe, you know, sell it so that someone could actually go through and do it if you can't afford to keep it up. However, for those that are able to, you allow them to have their assets and take care of them in the manner in which it should be handled. With that being said, this city is doing what it wants, and it's doing it according to their law, to their rules of what they want to govern at that time, not according to the muni codes that are put in place to actually govern this city. These city councilmen are actually out here to deliver the will of the people in their district that they service. The councilman at large, he services all the districts. You are supposed to go out and find out what your people want in that city. If they don't want it, they don't want it. They want this project paused. You are literally financially raping individuals that cannot afford this project. So what happens when you rebuild? And when we're going to leave from here and we're going to go downtown. Once you go through and you rebuild, and you've spent all their money for this rebuild, and you can't afford the policing. You can't afford the policing with the community that you have right now. You're saying we don't have enough officers, we don't have enough money. What's going to change? If you're having these issues right now, what is going to change once you rebuild?
Let me ask you a question, all right? Does the city think, would the city make money when it comes down to the new development? Or
you know
what?
You know what? Right now, let's be realistic. The developers, and they're not even developers from the city, and let's keep that understandable. Mm-hmm. You didn't even take the money for this project and put it with businesses in this city. This city has a lot of contractors. You didn't share it with anyone, not even the city. You didn't even share the contract with anyone in the state.
All the contractors from out of state?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
So, you are taking taxpayers' money, and you didn't even share that money with contractors that could even fund the state, let alone your city. With that being said, the only ones that are going to actually go through and make money on this are going to be the redevelopers and the people that have political gain. And not to mention the actual, now the city solicitor, let's talk about the appearance of improprieties. It's an appearance of impropriety when you are literally going through and you're in charge of, you're basically, your son is making money here. Mm-hmm. This should not be. He should not even be a contractor. If you go through this city, you'll see R&R everywhere.
Or family.
Everywhere.
Wow.
So, you are the city solicitor. It is appearance of improprieties. Just the appearance. If he's making money, guess what? Who's making money? That's the appearance thereof. And it's a violation. It is a conflict of interest.
Right.
Or at least the appearance of one.
So you say you got multiple shooters, right, in Brown Town?
We're going to go through and we're going to show you what's going on with regards to the downtown on Lockerman Street.
You were talking about...
Right here. Yeah, right here. We're going to go to Red Robin's first, and we're going to go through and show you about that business.
All right, man. Hey, guys, keep watching this video, man.
Right now, we are at the old Red Robin's downtown Dover. This was one of the newest businesses that they had put up into the Capitol Station shopping plaza.
Yeah.
Right here off of Highway 13. And, you know, we're talking about revitalizing an area. And this location right here is prime location. Mm-hmm. Building's brand new. And the business couldn't stay afloat. And why is that? You know, businesses they have so much that is going on. Right here across the street from this Red Robin's, you'll see the ATM machine, or the Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
Right. And you've had multiple incidents, people being robbed out there, just going to try to get to, go pull money out the ATM or make deposits, This city can't keep a city. You can't keep the people in your city safe. Mm-hmm. And, your excuse for, so much is, we don't have, city council will put it on the mayor because the mayor is in charge of the police department.
Yeah.
The mayor will go through and put it on city council that, they don't have enough funding. The reality is they have went through and flip-flopped so much, saying this, city council has known, and it's an excuse that is no longer acceptable. You've had ongoing excuses. You have city councilmen that's had these seats and they've been running unopposed. And, councilmen in the 4th district, his seat is up right now, David Anderson. Mm-hmm. He's held that seat since 2011. Has he heard the voice of his people of what they're saying that they needed? Safety. And then every time you turn around, we are not in charge of the police department. That's a cop-out. At the end of the day, you have the ability to make changes that are necessary. If you know that you don't have the ability to make decisions about the police department, mm-hmm. You're city council. You have the ability to revisit the charter so that you can get, some input. When you go through, they just literally went and they promised in 2021, in June 2021, they had a meeting, and it was all a hoax, just because the mayor was upset because I said he didn't care about the lives of that were being killed, because you had murder after murder after murder, shooting after shooting after shooting here, and people were afraid. Their safety is an issue. So they agreed and said that they were going to do a mobile substation. And this wasn't just a station for just the downtown area. It wasn't supposed to be for just the businesses. It was supposed to be for businesses and residents alike. Why? Because everyone had the same issue. And city council went through and they afforded the 5 officers that they said they needed for that mobile unit. Well, they never intended on going through to make that substation a reality in the first place. So what Chief Johnson did was you created this big old slideshow and you put on this big old appearance where people are telling you that they need help. They want you to address the crime in their area. It hasn't gotten better, it's gotten worse. The only thing that they've done, they based their stats on an outside year. So that it doesn't have any relevance. So it makes it the appearance that there's no crime going on here. These people can't stay in business when you have crime all around you. You have the homeless people, you have prostitution, you have vagrant people that are coming up begging for money. You have people that, I mean, the crime is real. People are afraid of being robbed. They can't. Why do you want? They can't come and patronize a restaurant in an area where they don't feel safe at. Why would you want to come here? They'd rather go somewhere else where they feel safer. Businesses are moving from here, but you're talking about revitalizing a city before you cure the problem. What they're trying to do right now, it's like you have a roof that is leaking. So instead of you repairing the leak on the outside of the roof, you're going to just put new sheetrock up on the inside of the house. Well, guess what? You're just going to tarnish and mess up the sheetrock all over again. Why? Because you didn't fix the initial problem. You are putting the cart before the horse. Residents want their city rebuilt, but they want this situation taken care of. We need to do better. We need to listen to the people. This isn't about what the councilmen want. This is about what the residents in this city are saying that they want. And right now, what they're saying is they want you to pause this project, clean up the mess, and then rebuild, because they don't want their taxpayer dollars going to waste.
All right, I'm gonna ask you this. Was the downtown project out for a vote, or just?
Downtown partnership, now we're gonna go through and we're gonna get into it with the downtown partnership. The downtown partnership is supposed to be a nonprofit.
Or nonprofit organization?
It's a nonprofit organization that was formed to go through and fix. But explain to me, since when do nonprofits get salaries of $100,000+ a year for 3 days a week? Explain to me how you're, at one point they had a young lady that worked there. She was getting paid a little over $80,000 a year. You had the gentleman, Ken, who was not a Dover resident. He moved from Smyrna to Dover, and he's getting over $60,000 a year. And they're only putting in 3 days of work a week. They're only open for 3 days a week. And they're literally telling people, they're telling them what you are going to do and why you should like it. It's their job to promote it. Without them, they have no income. Let's speak about what really is. You have people promoting something and they're getting paid to do so, and the residents are paying, they're literally being financially raped by this city.
So I want to know where the fund coming from to fund that the pay in the program.
Listen, right now what they just went through, and and that's another thing. When did the city of Dover become a part of real estate? They're going through, code enforcement is now going out. So within that mosaic plan, they are literally harassing people, creating fines, taking people's property illegally.
Oh, wow.
Fining them to where they have to give up their property. And for what? Since when did the city of Dover become a real estate agent? Now we want to go and get into the depth of everything. Now, city council will tell you they don't have control of this. But what they really do have control of, these are appointment positions. So they're going to say, well, we were given this information by people that specialize. The city manager. City manager is in charge of going through to run the city, basically. The city council goes through and provides the funding. If you know that you're getting the wrong information from your city manager, that's an appointment position. Who has the power to appoint that position? So when you go through and you have a position of appointment, if they're not doing what they need to do, then guess what? You need to go through, let's go through and let's see what we need to do better. If you're not going through and you're not giving us the information that is conducive to run the city properly, for us to make qualified decisions on how we're going to disperse our funding and what we have in this budget, then we need to figure out how you can do better. It's at any job. We go through a process, and if you're not up to par, the city manager's responsibility is to come up with new ways of funding. The only new way of funding that this city manager has come up with, that where the city is actually making any additional money, is through taking people's property. So why is code enforcement so aggressive now? Why is code enforcement going after the properties that are within this mosaic plan, including one of the ones that that they were trying to actually start messing with are the churches? They have no respect of person. With that being said, You're going in and you're trying to take property that doesn't belong to you, whether it's a violation or not. You're condemning people's property. It was a young lady on her property was located on 2nd and Division. They condemned her property. She had to get an injunction to stop it. They stopped her. She stopped them from tearing down her property because they deemed it condemnable. Once they went through, she had to go to court, and then it was overturned because her property wasn't condemnable. This woman went in and was one of the best looking houses, and it still is, on Queen and Division. And guess what? They gave this woman hell to raise her to actually be able to rent the property out. She purchased the property as an investment property. With that being said, there was nothing that was really wrong with the property for them to stop her from getting her permit to rent. It took her 8 years to do so. And it wasn't until we got involved to go through and make them stop. We had to bring it to the public forefront. But the city had purchased the section of property in back of her. Mm-hmm. So they were trying to force her out. So with that being said,
they're trying to keep the whole.
They wanted to take her property. They wanted that property. But guess what? So I ended up going through and I brought this forward. Mm-hmm. And this is when I started understanding that this was a bigger conspiracy than what I thought it was. We brought it forward, we brought it in front of a village meeting. Reached out to Councilman Bogarty. I want you to, and told he was supposed to be assisting. Instead of him assisting, he's gonna tell me, we're gonna bring in code enforcement, and they're gonna point out to me what it. Now, why would you want to bring in code enforcement, Councilman at-large Bogarty? Code enforcement is not going to come on anything but an official capacity. You're already trying to steal this woman's property, and you're already giving her unwanted grief for no reason. So his intention was to bring them in so that they could actually acquire the property. It's what it was. And I told him, no, under no circumstances will you bring them into this woman's property. We're not doing that.
So I'm gonna ask you this, right? See, business like this, right? That's mm-hmm. running out of business.
It's a fairly new business, and they're out of business already.
What is cities doing to bring back those?
Well, this was one of the ones. Okay, exactly. This was one of the ones that they were supposed to be. This was a part of the vision. This is a new complex. This is a fairly new complex. This is a newer business. This is one of the newer businesses here. So guess what? They just came here. It's not within 2021, 2020. It's a new business, and they could not keep it afloat. Why? And it's in a prime location. It's a prime location. Look at the highway. It's a Red Robin.
So it's a city for, or the people that open the business for? Who can you blame for that?
You know what? This is a problem for the city. Why?
Why?
Because you can't keep your city safe. You're not you're luring businesses here, and they're thinking based on the stats that you're reporting to the public, and you are giving false information to the public. People wouldn't bring their businesses here if they really knew what the true crime rate was here. If they really knew that right in that park over there, prior to them moving in this, that you had bodies popping up, and that that they were labeling as suicides, and talking about because you went through and they only labeled them as suicides because people ended up putting out gold alerts. Mm-hmm. And when you use a gold alert, you go through and you say that a person is a danger to themselves. And once you did that, then all of a sudden you got bodies coming up, and you say, it was have anything to accommodate or to justify saying it was a suicide. You go through and, if you go through and you start saying, people are being murdered in Silver Lake, guess what? You can't go through and people don't want to have businesses here because people popping up dead. So if you go through and say that, we had a suicide, it's fine because now you're dealing with mental health.
Yeah.
You got people shooting deaths, robberies. It's happening here. You have people that call the police and you don't even get a police report because you don't want it to affect your stats of what you have to report. Come on, let's stay woke, people. They're not doing their jobs, and they don't want this stuff out on the record. People don't want to bring businesses where there's high crime rates. So they're not doing their jobs. You're not getting safety because they don't want to go through and promote safety right now. This city wants to take its city back. They need to regain control. People want to feel safe in the city that they live in. And if they don't feel safety, guess what? How can you go through and have anything else? Financially, they want to be able to maintain what they have. You're financially raping this city because you have a vision that you want and you have an ulterior motive that you're trying to promote. And it's not conducive or beneficial to the people that you're servicing. You're raping them financially, you're stealing their property, you're giving them unwanted, unjustified fines, you're making their lives miserable because they can't financially afford to be here. And then not only are you taking their money, but they can't even feel safe. They don't even get the services that they pay for. It's ironic how the city of Dover goes through and they gave themselves kudos about how they cleaned the park and the roads and things of that nature. The only ones that was giving them praise were them within council. The people were calling and disgusted because their roads had not been cleaned. But you literally went through the city and gave fines for people not clearing off your sidewalks that belong to the city. That makes no sense. But you did not come and clean off their roads to make them safe, but you're giving them fines because of safety. I need y'all to do better. The city of Dover needs to do better. But we're gonna go downtown on Lockerman.
Downtown, all right.
And I wanna show you see, this is the first time they tried to revitalize the city.
Yes.
We wanna show you what happened to taxpayers' money then. And then we're gonna see, they showed you when you went through and you did your downtown partnership, they showed you what? They showed you all the beautiful things.
Yeah.
They didn't show you this type of stuff.
So all this brand new?
Yes, all this whole.
This like the second plane,
yes.
or the
this is
the first?
This right here, this is all brand new. It's fairly new, like 2021.
Yeah.
They literally just got these buildings filled with businesses, and as you can see, this one went out of business already.
Right.
So we're rebuilding to do what? Have more empty buildings.
Yeah. All right. Keep watching, guys. We're going to head down to the downtown area of Dover, Delaware, and you get to see more.
So right now we are actually downtown. We're on the corner of New and Lockerman. And being on the corner of New and Lockerman, this was Family Dollar. A lot of people was really, really grateful that the Family Dollar was actually put in the heart of the city. Why? Because who doesn't patronize Family Dollar? It doesn't matter what class, finance class you come from, whether you are someone that's low income, whether you have the highest of income. People shop at the Family Dollar, just like people shop at Wally World, people shop at Dollar General. And this store was unable to stay in business because of the element that is here. It wasn't just so much as the element. You have to understand everything plays a part in how businesses thrive. So in one aspect, you have the shrink. And when we talk about shrink, we talk about theft, people that are shoplifting, things of that nature. So when people steal, it drives your prices up. So if the store can't make money, then, because of theft, then it's not profitable. It's not profitability. With regards to the element, you have prostitutes, especially in the summertime, prostitutes, homelessness, vagrants come out, and the people that are actually that are patronizing the business, why do they want to come to a business if they don't even feel safe or comfortable going into the business? They have to be able to feel safe and comfortable to get outside of the car to go into the business in order for that business to make money. So with that being said, you're dealing with, not only are you dealing with the people that are in the neighborhood and stealing from the business, but then you have the outside, the unwanted elements that the business can't prosper and thrive on. So, where's the profitability? How are they generating income?
Yeah.
They couldn't generate revenue. They couldn't keep it open. And it's not because people don't patronize the Family Dollar. Everybody does. They're going everywhere else. They do. It's because of the element. It's the area. The location wasn't a prime location where they could actually thrive and make money. So they closed it down. So what happens when they close it down? They close it down, they go elsewhere. Why?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that they can do. They can't keep their businesses safe. You can't stop these type of things if you don't deal with the actual problem that there is. You have to deal with the unwanted element, figure out how to contain it, whether it is a policing issue. You keep saying, oh, well, we don't have the manpower. It's bigger than us. It's not on city council. City council saying it's on the mayor. They're in charge of policing. It's just a passing the buck. If city council knows that you've had this same issue and you know that you have no control over the police department, then you need to go through and implement things that make sense to where you can actually figure out how to balance control. There's ways that you do that. If you need to go and revisit the charter and change the charter where you implement that city council have input on, hiring of the police chief and firing of the police chief. That may be something that you need to implement. Now they have a committee that is set were an appointment process for that police chief, but you have no say on, if that police chief is not giving the citizens what they need, you don't have any say in whether he's fireable or not. The only thing you can do right now, the police chief, there was an actual complaint with the chief that was sent in and the mayor, because the chief is getting $165,000 plus a year. I think it's $165,800 some odd dollars of taxpayers' money, and he's still going in their pocket outside of what his salary is. You're taking taxpayers' dollars. You're driving the police car. You're using the gas card. You're going not only from Delaware, from the city of Dover, but you're also going to Pennsylvania, where you actually are an instructor for a school, which of course they knew that prior to hiring him, but you should have a car, $165,000. You should be having your own car and putting your own gas in because you can afford it. But instead, taxpayers are paying for that for him. Now, not only did he go through and do that, but he took his daughter out of state to another state to college, picked her up. Come on, you did this on taxpayers' dollars. This is not acceptable. What happens if he would have gotten into an accident? Taxpayers of this city are liable. Why? Because we're talking about insurance. The taxpayers pay for the insurances on these vehicles. He can't service the city of Dover if you're in South Carolina.
Yeah.
You don't even have the jurisdiction to even use your lights or your sirens to get back to Delaware, because you're out of your jurisdiction. You don't have jurisdiction in those areas. So the money that you're spending, and you're getting a salary. The police chief got $20,000 for overtime, where he's salaried and he's not supposed to receive overtime to work a weekend in Firefly. You already take enough of the taxpayers' money when you're going through and you're on salary and you're somewhere else.
Yeah.
When you're teaching in Penn State, guess what? You should have been your butt here because you on a salary. $165,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So city council is well aware of this. They're well aware of all of this.
So I'm going to ask you this, right? What you actually doing to help fix the situation that you're talking about? So
you know what? Right now, the best thing to do, because this local government, that Family Dollar, that's down there, That it was a Family Dollar. Now it's about to be become a church, based on the knowledge that and I don't know because it's still under R&R Real Estate. You see the
same
R&R,
company. Yeah, I
right?
seen it.
Councilman Bogarty stated that he and his wife are going to be opening a church there. I still see the sign in the window, so I'm not sure if it's happening or not. But let's think about it. These are present conflicts. Why? The city does not want the revitalization. People that are pushing this revitalization plan, it's not based on what the constituents want in this city. If you look, this apartment building, see the sign?
Yeah.
This used to be our pharmacy. They also have apartments that are the high-rise apartments that you see above us.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they have the parking garage. This was a part of what was done, what was a part of the new dream of downtown development, the new downtown development. Well, guess what? The pharmacy went under.
Yeah.
Why? Because they couldn't stay in business. Same issues. The apartment complex, which is beautiful, beautiful living space, but people didn't want to be here. Now, look at this. This is one of the things that they went through. This apartment complex is now renting out to Section 8. Why? Because the people that you wanted to target, they wanted to target the lawyers and the doctors and to live here. Mm-hmm. And guess what? That started out to be so, but people couldn't stay here. Why? Because their cars were being vandalized in a parking garage that was designated for them for parking. You had homeless people sleeping in the parking garage. Their cars were being vandalized. They were being robbed, mugged, and they didn't feel safe in this city. Would you feel safe with everything that's going on? You're dealing with different elements, okay? Mm-hmm. So what are your safety concerns? What are the concerns of the constituents in this area? When I say the constituents, we mean the residents, the homeowners. What are the concerns? Their concerns are their safety. And when you talk about safety, you're not just talking about the crime element, because you're dealing with gang violence. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with criminal gang violence. You're dealing with drug dealing. You're dealing with users. You're dealing with prostitution. Then you have a homelessness problem. You have a problem not only with homelessness, but you also have a problem with mental health. So all of these things are things that are an issue here. Now, how does the city supposed to combat this? And again, city council will go through and tell you, oh, we don't have control over these things. City council isn't designed for that. Number one, I need you to listen to what you're saying. See, it's called passing the buck. These city councilmen that have been put in these seats, they're not doing things properly. They're not giving the finances away properly. When you give finances to nonprofits, you give finances to nonprofits that can actually help you with the issues that you're having within your city. You have a homelessness problem. Councilman Bogarty just came to the church and stated, and they went through and they helped Wesley Church with a roof, $30,000. And you know what? It was a write-up in the paper. And had Wesley Church actually needed that $30,000, and they hadn't already raised the money, that would have been a great gesture. Why? Because it's a church, and the churches always need money. But their parishioners had already raised the $30,000. So you found it necessary to give them money, $30,000, after they had already raised the money. We have a homeless shelter here that is getting ready to go out of business. They're getting ready to close down because they don't have the funding to keep it open. Homelessness is a real issue. So Shepherd's Place Shelter has been a go-to, a safe haven for people when they don't have. And yes, their time is only limited there, and you can get 30 days, maybe an extension for 45, but guess what? It gave families the ability and the opportunity to have a place to stay and a resource center, to be able to find new housing. But if you're not taking the money that you get from the grant money, and that money came from Arbor funds, and yes, it was grant money, but it was still designated for this city. So you want to give to nonprofits that can actually help the issues that you're combating within the community.
Yeah.
Why? Because the homelessness, if you go down here to New Street, when you go to New Street, you see that, you have a lot of homelessness, and they're actually sleeping and hanging out all day on a porch because they don't have anywhere to go. I come out here and I actually feed these people soup I literally go through and make crock pots of soup and feed them in the middle of the day because they don't have a place to go. People's church opens, but people's church, they have to be out at a certain time. You have a true problem that needs to be addressed, and you're taking funding and you're giving it to referral programs. Why did you give Arbor money to create another referral program? We have enough agencies to refer you to places that need help. We don't have beds. The referral to know where to go is not an issue. It's never been an issue. Mm-hmm. It's the actual beds that are needed that need to be addressed. So, City Council is going through giving money, but let's be realistic. Mayor Christensen said he did not want people in this city. He didn't want the homelessness. He would rather buy them a bus ticket to bus them out.
Where?
Anywhere over here.
Wow.
So with that being said, City Council is not going through, they're not distributing these funds to where it's effective, where it's going to do its best work in the city. When they're going through this budget, City Council was asked not to approve that budget. How do you go and give yourself raises and the mayor a raise when you're in a deficit? We're on New Street now, and this is where this new apartment complex is apartment building, high rise is supposed to go. Now, the high rise, you're putting this high rise in the center of where most of your unwanted element is. You have the criminal element of the drug dealing. You have the prostitution, which is a criminal element, as well as a safety element. Mm-hmm. You have the users that are right here in the heart, and if you look, you see cameras everywhere.
Yeah, cameras everywhere.
And it's unfortunate that this city has cameras and you're utilizing taxpayer dollars, but you're not using the tools that you have to even combat the crime that you have or the issues that you're having in your areas. The cameras are retroactive. It's basically, because whenever you see something by camera, it's already done. What is the use of these cameras? What can they be used for, and how to combat the crime in the area? When you go through, you have over 100, and I know at one time, I want to say it was 129, but I think the count of the cameras throughout the city have went up. But when you're dealing with combating crime, what is the purpose of cameras? You can actually be able to assess where your high time crime areas are, and assess at what part of the day you're able to go through and see the activity and locate, everything that's going on within the heart of the city. And then you're able to combat it because you're now being proactive in making sure that you keep those areas policed. You have houses that are just built here, and these homeowners purchase these homes. And we're going to be honest, some of these homeowners, let's just talk about when you're actually going through and you're purchasing houses. You don't want to go, they thinking they're getting something in an area that's a decent area, and then they realize once they move that the area is actually a high crime area, and now they're stuck right at their doorstep, and they're not renting. They purchased these homes. And you don't have a way to be able to combat these things for these people. They have children. Their children, the bus stop had to be moved off of the street so that the kids weren't dropped off right there in the face of the drug dealers um, and the prostitution. You have prostitutes giving oral sex, right? And, having sex with people right there in your face. Is this an issue? Yes, it's an issue that needs to be addressed. And how do you address these issues? Number one, you increase the policing. And yeah, they say, oh, this isn't an issue that can be policed and the community needs to get involved. The community has been involved. The community has come out, and you're not hearing the community on their needs. So when you go through and you overstretch your community and they are tired of talking, and you continue on making excuse after excuse after excuse of why you can't do what they need done in a city, it's time to replace the seats. And so right now we're in an election year, 2025. David Anderson, the 4th District Councilman, he is up, and that's where we are right now. We're in the 4th District. He is up for re-election. He's sat on council since 2011 and has been run unopposed. He has not been in touch or in sync with the people and resonated with the people that he services in the community. We're not talking about the business owners. The business owners don't live in the community for the most part. And this is his district. He needs to listen to what the needs are of his district, but he hasn't resonated with the people in his district. He doesn't know what it is that the people want. He tried to get a dwelling ordinance passed that he created, he came up with. And it was violating the rights of civil rights of people that, to violate a 4th Amendment right. It was going to give the police the ability to stop people without having probable cause for search and seize. It was just a lot of things within that ordinance that was against, that was violation of people's rights if it were passed. But did he go through and talk to the people in his district to see if that's something that they wanted? He didn't. You have Councilman Fred Neal in District 3. His seat is up for re-election. He hasn't been run unopposed for since he's been there. It's quite some time. I believe it was once, maybe in 2000, I want to say 15, if my numbers are correct. Mm-hmm. Councilman Hare is up for re-election. He's in District 2. That was the recently censored council, who was censored at council president. But even the city hasn't even revealed the fact that the censoring wasn't even a true censoring, because the Economic Development Committee wasn't even qualified to even render that decision. But that's another issue in itself that we'll be dealing with a little bit later.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
All right. You think about the city developing this area, right? Mm-hmm. Will make the value of the property go up and
you know what? Let's think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is the property value going up with the apartment complex, the high-rise apartment that was just down there? It's not, has it? Mm-hmm. It actually, what did you end up seeing? You see a building that needs to be rented, mm-hmm. because they couldn't stay in business because of the elements that are deterring their business. Mm-hmm. You see the apartments that were beautified and supposed to bring up the property value, they're now being rented out to Section 8 because the people that you wanted to attract aren't here.
They ain't here no more.
So you're going to put the same thing here on New Street. How do you think that's going to turn out? Did you see the condition of the building? It was a beautiful high-rise. You saw the condition of the building, right? So do you think it's going to bring the property value up or down?
That's a good question.
If you do not clean up the unwanted elements that bring the property values down in a neighborhood, your property value is not going to rise. It's going to decrease. Mm-hmm. So you're going to put something new and you're spending taxpayer dollars to do so, why would you do it before you got rid of the element that created the issue in itself in the first place? It's putting the cart before the horse. Who is actually the ones that's going to benefit from this? Because it definitely is not the citizens of this city.
Right. I got another question to ask again. You think you're afraid of change? Like, what you think? More people out there?
Definitely not.
Not.
Let's be realistic. Would I love to be able to come to the city and, the theater that's down there, would I love to be able to come to the city and stay in my own city and be able to take in a play or a show, to go to a poetry reading where I can go through or paint and do those things without feeling like I have to go through and protect. You can't. You don't even want to leave your car.
Because you worry about safety. Your most important thing is safety.
Safety, not only but safety, but let's go through and be realistic. We want to be able to go and patronize nice places. Why would we want to leave outside of our city to have to go somewhere to feel safe, to have to go somewhere to where we feel like we can have a nice time, and not have to deal with the unwanted elements? Of course, we want to be able to do it here. There's nowhere to go in this city that makes sense. But in order for you to do that, you have to clean up first
before you
the unwanted elements before you rebuild. Clean it up and then rebuild it as everyone wants. Everyone in the city wants the same thing. We want to be able to go and have nice shops to go into, go to the mall. Let's get we want a better mall. We want to be able to have cheesecake factories here where we don't have to go out to Newark or Rehoboth to go and enjoy ourselves. We want to be able to do it right here in our own town. But we can't do that until you clean up the element. Clean up the unwanted element first. Get community involved. Start listening to the people that you're servicing, that actually live here. Give them the things that they need so that they can go through and be able to enjoy their city as it's supposed to be enjoyed. This restaurant right here, the food is wonderful. You just had food from it. Guess what? A gentleman came here to this restaurant to go get something to eat for his son and ended up being shot.
Right here?
Right here.
Oh, wow.
So, do you think people want to be able to patronize the businesses here? People want to be able to go through and do it right here in their own hometown in their front yard. But guess what? They can't do that without fearing their safety. So, what do you think?
I don't know. I have no opinion. Now listen to your opinion.
The thing is,
safety is important.
Safety is very important.
It's very important.
So if a person is coming to get some food for his family, and because the food is good, the food is great.
Yeah, the food is
so he's coming to get food for his family, and he ended up being shot in the crossfire. But these are things that we talked about and told our police chief. We told the mayor these things. All these things are things that were already said that were going to happen. And it came to pass. And it has continued to come to pass. So what do? The only thing we can do at this point is change the seats of the people that are running the local government so that we could actually go through and have a safer city, because this is ridiculous. We're at a point to where they're not listening. So in order to get true, complete change, we have to change the seats.
I got to ask you another question. Say, can you go to the state level for complaint for everything you just talked about on the state level?
What you have to do, they have what's called a ethics commission.
Yeah.
But that ethics commission is tainted because who are the commissioners on that committee? Who are they appointed by? They're appointed by the mayor. So if you are having if your issue is with someone within the local government, and who's overseeing that commission? The same people that's overseeing the city is the same people that's overseeing the commission. So the due process isn't there.
No checks and balances.
Right. You can't police your own. So if you are appointed by a mayor and the people that appointed you and you have a complaint against them, are you going to be biased or unbiased? It's no checks and balances. Now, do they have a public Human Relations Commission? They do. They have what is called a Public Integrity Commission. So, with that being said, this city is too corrupt. The corruption goes deep. The city doesn't have checks and balances, and the corruption goes deep. And until you go through and put people in those seats that are capable of actually doing to service people here in this area, any complaint needs to go to the Public Integrity Committee. Why? Because they will actually go through and hear the complaint based on what needs to be done, and actually be unbiased and be able to give a complete ruling and do things that need to be done. So the city needs to be reached. You need to go back in. The city needs to get back to the basics of following the actual laws, that the codes, that the muni codes that the city's supposed to be governed by, and the officials that are actually in these seats and running the local government need to go through and start abiding by those codes. And like I said, the ones that are there right now, it's just a corrupt system. It's time to get rid of them. Put fresh people in those seats so we can get the city back into the hands of the people so they can get their needs addressed as it's supposed to be.
All right, got another question, all right? At the event, right, the Fighting Ice event, where they were showing all the display was happening in the city,
All right.
and a lot of people said this idea had been going on for over 35 years. They finally, they're happy, it's finally they're taking shape. What your thought on that?
You know what? I love the displays. But again, you see the displays in the city that it's in, right? And right now it's cold outside, so you don't see a lot of activity. But, the crime rate is still, and the crime rate lowers in the wintertime. Why? Because it's cold.
Yeah, it's too cold.
With that being said, the reality is this. When this city, you're going through, and it's beautiful, beautiful pieces. You want to go through and you want to be able to see, you want to beautify the areas. But how can you beautify when you are in the heart of this and nothing? And when I say nothing, they've done nothing to go through to change the element. So what do? How can you put, you have beauty there, but you still have the elements that surround it that people aren't going to be able to go through and enjoy the things that are beautified. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in order for you, and these things are great to have, but let's be realistic. These aren't precedents over safety. Ice sculptures aren't precedent over safety. And again, they're beautiful. But let's go through and beautify an area that's a safe area to beautify, where people can actually feel safe to be able to come out and enjoy the actual presence and being able to see the scenery. Let's be able to do that. Because until the city is safe, and until the city is financially equipped to be able to deal with, and the affordability of safety, just the affordability of living, let's get the city back to where it's supposed to be for the people, as opposed to putting the cart before the horse and bleeding citizens dry, taking people's property, doing things that are underhanded and illegal. Let's get back to the basics of where we actually know how to live and recreate balance within the city so that we can function as a functional city. Let's do that first.
All right, another one, all right? Somebody on here from Dover, Delaware is watching, right? And they agree with everything you just said, right? How can they get involved to help what you're talking about?
If you are in the city of Dover limits, come out on April the 15th. We need you to vote. Those people that are occupying those seats, I want you to go and research their records. I want you to go into the city council, and I want you to go and research them out. Look and see how they've been voting on your finances. Look and see how they've been handling and combating the issues of crime. Look at all the empty promises that they've given and not fulfilled, and look at how they continue on increasing what you have to come out of pocket to pay, and are not delivering on any of the basic needs and necessities that they are supposed to be providing for you within the city. And when you go out and vote on April the 15th, I want you to go out and vote and put those people, put new faces and new bodies in those seats that are willing to put their hands back into the people and actually work for you, the constituents, to get you back to where you need to be. That is the only way that we're going to have effective change at this point. Put new people in those seats that are willing to do the job and work for you, the people, and give you the things that you need right now to get your city back. That's it.
All right. All right, guys. If you watch this video all the way to this point, you already know your family, all right? Go ahead and become a citizen. Thank you very much. We're definitely going to link again and talk more, all right?
All right, thank you.
It's a little bit cold, a little bit
Yes,
rough.
it was definitely cold. You know I got to love them. You know I got to love the city.
You love the city. I can understand. I can see that, you know what I mean? Because it's pretty cold right now. What, 22 degrees right now?
Yes, yes.
But we got it done. And your message is going to be out there, all right?
Thank you. All right, baby. Thank you very much.
All right.